In recent years, awareness has grown of the scale and gravity of human rights abuses committed against people because of their sexual orientation and gender identity. More states than ever now recognize that their legal duty to protect everyone from violence and discrimination extends also to those who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex. Reflecting a shift, in 2011, the Human Rights Council adopted the first United Nations resolution on the issue. Since then, we have had the first official UN report on the issue, produced by my office, and the first formal intergovernmental debate. The report I presented to the Council painted a picture of intolerable physical violence and discriminatory practices. When people suffer violent attacks and discrimination, whatever the so-called rationale, we must act. The question is not whether to respond, but how. The steps needed at a national level are well established, from decriminalization of same-sex relationships to comprehensive anti-discrimination measures. Public education is also required to tackle homophobia at its roots. For my part, I can and will continue to advocate for these kinds of measures and to highlight particular areas of concern. But we need to make sure that the issue is addressed properly at an intergovernmental level as well. The first step in overcoming divisions among states is dialogue. But to have an effect, dialogue must be sustained and, equally important, it must be informed. Our immediate challenge is to overcome two critical gaps. The first is an information gap. Out of thousands of human rights-related reports presented to the General Assembly and the Human Rights Council over the years, just one, my own one-off report to the Council at the end of 2011, has addressed homophobic violence and discrimination head-on. This must change. Violations should be systematically monitored, documented, and reported. Evidence should be laid before states on a regular basis, providing a solid foundation for discussion. This is the way to convince more states to commit themselves to action at a national level. It will take time, but ultimately, faced with an accumulation of evidence, denial will no longer be an option. This brings us to a second related gap, which is institutional. Up to now, information has been collected in passing by existing human rights mechanisms on an ad hoc basis. And the only discussion we have had among states has been last year's one-off panel debate. This falls far short of what is needed. Violence and discrimination against LGBT people is systematic. Our response must be too. In future, both reporting of these violations and discussion of state responses should be institutionalized. It is, of course, for you, as member states, to decide how best to achieve this. As you consider your decision, please listen to the voices of the victims. Many of their stories will break your heart. All too often, their own governments have abdicated their responsibilities towards them. They are looking to the United Nations for protection. They expect us to live up to our ideals of equal rights for all, no distinctions, no exceptions. We must not betray them.